Welcome to the People Chronicles Penn Street Market Experience It. I'm Lucine Sihelnik, your host today, and also director of the Penn Street Market. Today I have a very special guest with me. I would like to introduce Ellen Horan, who's also the president and CEO of the Greater Reading Chamber and Commerce and Industry.
It's a long one.
It is. I'm so sorry, but welcome. Thank you so much for
having me.
us. And you know, it's really special because on this episode today, we're focusing on our businesses and the collaborations that we're starting to see happen in support with the Penn Street Market.
Sure.
So thank you very much, and tell me just a little bit about how this collaboration between our mutual endeavors are really starting to come to fruition through the Penn Street Market.
Well, we have actually a little bit of history with the market. As you know, that was Sheila Miller's, baby in starting that, and but she had no support. You know, she had no staff. She had to do it all on her own.
Right.
So she approached the chamber and said, "Can you help me out with this?" And we were like, "Okay, how what do you have in mind?" And she had cultivated the farmers to come to the market, and then she asked the chamber, "Could we get some restaurants involved?" And our thought was that if people maybe would be coming out for lunch, they would then also shop. So for the first couple of years, we had a chamber-sponsored restaurant of the day.
Wonderful.
And we got a few restaurants, and they rotated weeks that they were there because at the very beginning, there wasn't enough business for more than one restaurant.
Right.
So they were very good at taking turns and didn't overburden anyone, and it worked out pretty well.
It did, and you know, going back to the early days of Sheila's vision, of revitalizing this market was crucial, and she put in so much work.
She did.
And, it was an honor to be able to pick up what she had started and then to, start to expand.
Right.
And, again, to collaborate and work together as the two of you had in the past. I'm happy to say now that we are still continuing the tradition, and we've made some changes. We've moved it to the heart of downtown,
right?
And that's for the success of the market and for the community, for visibility and accessibility, and we want the market to serve those who are working downtown, those who are living downtown, and then also in the Greater Reading area.
Absolutely.
The restaurants are one way to do that, and I just want to point out and thank you for your support this year in the market through a different facet, not directly sponsoring the restaurants per se, but because the market still is a grassroots initiative, we do need that support, from all of our businesses and organizations, and even individuals, in different ways.
Right.
So
there was something else too we did in the beginning. I think we had an intern on, so we would load the intern up with a bunch of flyers, and send them to go to the Wells Fargo building, go to the County Services building, wherever there were multiple floors, and tack them in the elevators, just to get people's, top of mind. We also did, when the Jehovah's were coming in, the Santander Arena was very good about letting us put signage up there that they tended to walk down Penn Street and not up. So getting the signage there was ice cream. It was nice for the families that come in for the Jehovah's program.
And that's really what it's about, creating an event, for everybody to be able to experience it, whether they're visiting as guests in our town, or we're permanent residents, or entrepreneurs ourselves.
Right.
We're seeing now that the market has started in season, we're seeing a great support from all of the individuals working downtown, specifically coming to have lunch. And so now we've graduated from one restaurant to inviting all of those restaurants over the past years that were taking turns to be present and on site every single week.
Perfect.
And I think the community is really happy about that.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to invite you and your team to come for lunch.
Definitely.
It's really turning out to be a very nice experience.
Yeah. I'm sure Sheila would be very proud with the way it's grown, and that was actually a goal from the beginning, was to bring it down Penn Street eventually. It'd be nice if eventually it's even in a couple of different spots.
Exactly. There's a lot of conversations behind, okay, this year the market changed. What's next? And I love that question. What's next means there's a lot of energy behind it.
Right.
And I think it's important for individuals who are asking that question to come and experience the market in whatever facet that might be right for them.
Right.
and then to share their feedback, because really this is for the community and it's run by the community. Just as Sheila was a team of one, we have a very limited team, and we're grateful for the operational funding that's provided to us. But we need to raise that money. We need to expand those teams. We need to further collaborate so that if we want multiple markets, or if we want a year-round indoor market, or all the really good ideas that we've had, come to see through fruition, we really have to work together and create that vision. So that's an exciting and challenging.
Well, I think you've brought it, definitely to another step, which is great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But we'd also talked about a vision of having kiosks or kind of cultivating entrepreneurs, and I think you're going to be going in that direction as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
maybe people that could grow into a storefront, but need to start out a little bit smaller. So I think the main thing that you can do is get people out of the buildings. I particularly am focused on getting the workers out. You just get in such a habit of packing your lunch.
You do.
And staying and talking with your coworkers, you need a reason to come out. And having the entertainment there. If you're adding some vendors, it'll create a destination. It'll create an event.
Yes, and when you're talking about, bringing people out of the buildings, now we're starting to focus on wellness, and for everybody who is working downtown, there's a focus on wellness. How can we provide this, through to our employees, to to our coworkers. So getting out of the office, walking down to the market and walking back. Buying fresh fruits and vegetables, having that accessible,
that's all good stuff.
Smelling some fresh air, and having conversations with people that you may not normally be conversing with, all leads to a very positive and productive work environment, which is what we really strive for. We want to be happy, we want to live, well, and enjoy ourselves. So, and I like the idea of the kiosks. I think that it is part of bridging this gap and inviting people to come into our downtown area, especially for our destination downtown Reading and the incentives behind that. And for a lot of individuals coming in, they may only be starting out. They may say, well, I feel comfortable as a vendor this year, but then what are their programs, and incentives put in place for downtown in starting and establishing a business? And could I be one of those people? Could I do something like that? And then, like you said, we have people in storefronts, and they're making these relationships now at the Penn Street Market. They're coming to the tables once a week. One side is the entrepreneur, the other side is the community member. And when you make those connections and they meet each other, and it's only a matter of time, if it's the right development, that you've already have your constituents, you have your clientele and your customers, and that's really what you need to stand behind it. I really think that the Penn Street Market is something that's going to continue to grow. We really appreciate your support in many different ways and facets.
Absolutely.
Feel free to stay tuned with us, and thank you very much, for your time today. If you want information about the Penn Street Market, you can visit our website, pennstreetmarket.org. You can also reach us via phone and email on that address and website. We look forward to seeing you at the market. Come and experience it.